The sky over the planet Virith 9 burned with colors Ethan had never seen before. Red clouds swirled with purple streaks, and the twin suns cast long, shifting shadows over the jagged landscape. The planet was a battlefield, torn apart by endless conflict between factions of the Zetherians, an alien species known for their strength and intelligence. Ethan, a human warrior from Earth, had come with a small peacekeeping unit. They were sent to observe, protect civilians, and avoid getting caught in the war as much as possible. Ethan moved carefully across the rocky terrain, his boots crunching against the sharp stones. His eyes scanned every shadow. He had faced battles before, but this was different. Everything here was alien. The air, the gravity, even the way light bent over the landscape. He adjusted his gear and checked his scanner, which beeped faintly, warning him of movement nearby. "Ethan, are you sure this is safe?" called a voice from his radio. It was Lieutenant Ramos, his second in command. "I don't know, Ramos," Ethan admitted, "but we have to check. The scanner shows life signs nearby, and they're strong, possibly civilian, maybe a survivor from the last attack." They moved closer, slipping between jagged rocks and avoiding open areas. Suddenly, Ethan froze. Ahead, half buried under the rubble of what seemed to be a destroyed hovercraft, lay a figure. The form was small but clearly humanoid, with slender limbs and shimmering pale blue skin that seemed almost translucent under the strange sunlight. It was an alien, and she was badly hurt. Ethan dropped to his knees beside her, his heart pounding. Her chest rose and fell weakly, and blood, dark, thick, unlike anything he had ever seen, stained her clothes. Her head turned slightly, revealing delicate features and a crown-like structure on her forehead. She was a princess. Ramos arrived behind him, and both men assessed the situation quickly. "She's dying," Ethan said softly. "We need to act fast." Ethan knew that Zetherians had a unique physiology. In normal circumstances, their bodies could regenerate quickly, but the injuries she had sustained were too severe. He reached for his medkit, but there was nothing in it that could stop the bleeding effectively. Time was slipping away. "She won't survive long with us trying to patch her up here," Ramos said, worry in his voice. "We need a proper medical unit." Ethan shook his head. "There's no time, and if we leave her here, she'll die before they arrive." He looked down at her again. Her eyes, luminous and fading, met his. In that instant, he knew there was no other choice. Zetherians could accept compatible blood in emergencies, but it was risky for both the giver and the receiver. He didn't hesitate. "I'll do it," Ethan said. Ramos opened his mouth, but Ethan cut him off. "There's no other way. If I don't do this, she dies." With careful hands, he made a small incision in his arm and prepared the transfusion device. As he connected it to her, a strange energy pulsed through the link, warm and vibrant. He felt a faint tingle in his veins, as if the alien energy was mingling with his own. The princess's body shivered, and her breathing, which had been faint and uneven, began to stabilize. Ethan held his breath, watching for any sign of distress. Minutes passed, each one feeling like an eternity, and finally the faint glow in her eyes strengthened. She inhaled deeply, her chest rising more steadily. Ramos stared in awe. "I've never seen anything like this," he whispered. Ethan didn't respond. He was focused entirely on her. He could feel a connection forming, subtle at first, like a thread weaving between them. He could sense her fear, her pain, and, strangely, her relief. After a long moment, she spoke. Her voice was weak but clear, melodic in a way that resonated in his mind. "Thank you." Ethan blinked. He wasn't expecting words, certainly not in a language he could understand. But somehow the transfusion had created a link. "You're safe now," he said. "You're going to live." Her eyes widened slightly, and for the first time she tried to lift her head. Ethan and Ramos supported her, easing her out from under the debris. Each movement seemed easier than before, as if his blood had given her not only life but renewed strength. As they moved, Ethan noticed something else, something that made him pause. He felt a subtle shift inside himself, a sensation like energy flowing through his muscles, sharpening his senses. He could hear the faintest hum of life all around him, the soft rustle of rock settling, even the faint heartbeat of animals far below. The connection wasn't just her survival, it was changing him. They reached a safer area, a natural alcove carved into the rocks. Ethan laid her down gently, and she closed her eyes, exhausted but alive. He knelt beside her, feeling both relief and unease. This bond, formed in the rush of life-saving instinct, was more than he had ever expected. "Can you speak now?" he asked softly. She nodded faintly, opening her eyes again. This time she looked directly at him, and he felt her thoughts brushing against his mind, gentle and clear. "You saved me." "I owe you everything," Ethan swallowed. He had faced countless dangers in his life, but nothing like this. Nothing that created such a direct link between two beings so different. He realized that this was more than a battle. This was the beginning of something unprecedented. Suddenly, a distant roar echoed across the rocks. Ethan stood alert. Enemy forces were approaching. They were likely seeking the princess, unaware that she had been rescued. He glanced at Lyra. Her body was weak, but her eyes now gleamed with determination. "We need to move," he said. "They're coming." Lyra tried to rise, but her strength was not enough. Ethan crouched beside her, placing a hand on her shoulder. Through the bond, he felt her fear. "I cannot fail. Not again." "You won't have to," he reassured her. "We'll get through this together." Using the rocks and shadows as cover, Ethan led her and Ramos through the jagged terrain. They moved silently, avoiding open areas. Ethan's enhanced senses allowed him to detect danger before it appeared, giving them a significant advantage. For the first time, he realized just how extraordinary this bond was. He could sense the world through her awareness, and she seemed to understand him in ways beyond words. Hours passed as they navigated the perilous landscape. Lyra's strength slowly returned, and with it, the faint glow in her skin became more pronounced. She looked at Ethan once, a mixture of gratitude and something deeper in her luminous eyes. "Why would a human help me?" she asked, her voice still carrying that strange melodic quality, though the words were now clear in his mind. Ethan shrugged, trying to appear casual, though his heart raced. "Because it's the right thing to do," he said simply. "Because no one deserves to die when you can help them." She studied him silently. Then unexpectedly she smiled, a small radiant expression that seemed to light the entire alcove. "Then we are bound," she said softly, almost to herself. "Bound by life. By blood." Ethan felt a shiver run down his spine. The words were more than symbolic. He could feel the truth in them through the bond. Whatever had begun with the transfusion had created a permanent connection, one that neither of them fully understood yet. Night fell over Virath 9, but the twin suns left a faint glow on the horizon. Ethan and Lyra rested in the alcove, alert for any movement. Ramos kept watch, clearly uneasy but trusting Ethan's instincts. For the first time in this mission, Ethan allowed himself a moment to reflect. He had faced countless dangers, fought in brutal wars, and survived impossible situations. Yet none of it compared to the responsibility he now held. The life of a princess, the weight of a bond he barely understood, and the unknown consequences that might follow. Hours later, Lyra stirred, rising slowly with Ethan's support. Her strength had returned more than expected, and she moved with a grace that seemed almost unreal. "We cannot stay here," she said, her voice firmer now. "The others will come. We must move before they find us." Ethan nodded. He could feel her resolve through the bond, and it strengthened his own. Together they stepped out from the shadows of the alcove, facing the alien landscape once more. Every step they took was dangerous, but each one was guided by trust, courage, and the unspoken connection that bound them. As they disappeared into the jagged terrain, Ethan knew that this was only the beginning. Saving the princess had changed everything, not just for her, but for him. Something extraordinary had begun, something beyond understanding, and he could only imagine what the future held for a human warrior and an alien princess bound by blood, facing a universe that was waiting to test them in ways they could not yet imagine. The stars above twinkled faintly, witnesses to the bond that had just formed, and somewhere deep within the planet, the echo of life, new, dangerous, and incredible, had begun to stir. Ethan and Lyra moved cautiously through the rocky terrain, their steps slow and deliberate. The alien landscape stretched endlessly before them, jagged mountains and deep valleys illuminated by the twin suns. Each shadow could hide a danger, each sound could signal an approaching threat. Ethan's senses were sharper than ever, the bond with Lyra giving him awareness of subtle shifts in the environment. He could hear the faintest movement of sand, feel the vibrations of distant footsteps, and sense Lyra's own rising tension. Lyra walked beside him, still fragile but steadily regaining her strength. Her eyes glimmered with intelligence and alertness, scanning the horizon constantly. Ethan marveled at the way she seemed to sense everything around her, even more so with the link between them. Through the bond, he could feel her thoughts, her emotions, and even the remnants of her pain. He realized that saving her had done more than preserve her life. It had created a connection that neither of them could fully understand yet, a connection that allowed them to share awareness in ways he had never imagined. "Ethan," she said softly, her voice flowing directly into his mind as well as his ears. "We cannot linger here. They will track me." "I know," Ethan replied. "We need to find a safe place to rest and plan our next move." He paused, scanning the distant horizon. "There's a valley ahead that should provide some cover. If we move carefully, we can avoid detection." As they moved, Ethan noticed how the bond seemed to sharpen his senses further. He could anticipate sudden changes in the terrain, avoid pitfalls, and even detect the presence of small creatures hidden in the rocks. Lyra noticed it too and gave a small approving nod. "Your human instincts are strong, but the link? It enhances them. You can sense danger better than most Zetherians," she said. They reached the valley as the twin suns began to dip lower, casting long shadows across the jagged landscape. The valley was narrow, with towering rock walls on either side. Ethan led Lyra to a hidden alcove halfway up the valley, a natural shelter protected from both the wind and potential pursuers. Inside, they paused to rest. Lyra sank to the ground, exhaustion evident in every movement. Ethan knelt beside her, checking her for injuries. "You're stronger now," he said. "Your body is healing fast." "Yes," she replied, her voice quiet. "Your blood. It saved me, but it also changed me." She looked at him with a mix of wonder and concern. "I feel connected to you. Our minds, our senses. They are linked in ways I cannot explain." Ethan nodded slowly, understanding. He could feel her emotions as clearly as his own, a constant undercurrent of thought and feeling that was both comforting and overwhelming. "I feel it too," he admitted. "It's strange, but I think it's helping us survive. It's like we can sense each other's intentions even before we speak." For a long time they sat in silence, each absorbing the strange new reality of their bond. Outside, the valley was alive with the subtle sounds of the alien world, rustling winds, distant creatures moving among the rocks, and the faint hum of energy that seemed to pulse through the planet itself. Ethan realized that this world, though dangerous, was also alive in ways he had never imagined. Every element seemed connected, every movement part of a larger rhythm that he was only beginning to understand. As night fell, Lyra spoke again. "We must keep moving. The enemy will not stop searching for me, and they are relentless. We need allies," Ethan frowned. "Allies? Do you have anyone left?" Lyra shook her head. "Most of my guards were killed in the attack. My people are scattered, and the enemy controls much of the territory. But there may be survivors in the north, refugees and warriors who are willing to fight for the right cause." Ethan considered this. Moving north would be dangerous, but staying put was even riskier. "Then we go north," he said firmly. "We'll find them, and we'll find a way to protect you. No one is going to hurt you while I'm here." Lyra studied him, her eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. "I trust you," she said. "More than I trust anyone else in this world. But you must understand, our bond is more than just survival. It is life itself. If anything happens to you, I may not survive fully either." Ethan felt the weight of her words. The bond was powerful, unbreakable, and permanent. It tied them together in ways that went beyond understanding. He placed his hand gently over hers. "Then we survived together, no matter what." They spent the night in the alcove, taking turns keeping watch. Ethan noticed that even in sleep, the bond remained active. He could sense her dreams, faint and fleeting, filled with memories of her life before the attack, glimpses of a palace, of her family, of her people. It was both beautiful and heartbreaking. He realized that he was not just protecting her body, but also the essence of who she was. The next morning, they set out again. Their journey through the alien wilderness was filled with danger at every turn. Small creatures lurked in the shadows, and the terrain itself seemed to conspire against them. Yet their bond allowed them to move with a coordination that was uncanny. Ethan could anticipate Lyra's movements, and she could sense his thoughts. Together they were more than just a human and an alien. They were a team, perfectly synchronized in their actions. As they traveled, they came across a group of Zetherian refugees hiding in a cave. The refugees were wary at first, unsure whether to trust a human warrior. But when Lyra approached and revealed herself as their princess, and when the bond with Ethan became apparent, their suspicion turned to awe. The humans and aliens together represented something new, something neither side had ever seen before. One of the elders stepped forward, his voice trembling. "Princess Lyra, you live?" Lyra nodded. "Thanks to him," she said, gesturing toward Ethan. "He saved my life when no one else could. He is bound to me now. We share life together." The refugees stared at Ethan in amazement. A human warrior bound by blood to his Etherean princess? It was unheard of, almost unbelievable. Yet the truth of it was clear, visible in the glow of Lyra's skin and the calm, determined presence of Ethan. The elder's eyes softened. "Then we will follow you, princess. And you, human, you have our respect." Ethan nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle even deeper. Leading these people would not be easy. They were exhausted, hungry, and frightened. Yet they also represented hope, a chance to change the course of the war, a chance to save lives that would otherwise be lost. Lyra and Ethan spent the next few days moving with the refugees, guiding them through hidden paths and avoiding enemy patrols. Along the way, Ethan began to notice changes within himself. His senses were sharper than ever, his strength greater, and he could recover from minor injuries almost instantly. The bond with Lyra was not just saving her, it was enhancing him. Lyra seemed aware of the changes as well. "You are becoming something more than human," she said one evening as they rested by a small stream. "Your body and your mind, they are adapting to the connection. I can feel it, and it is remarkable." Ethan laughed softly. "I don't know if I like being called more than human. It sounds like too much responsibility." She smiled faintly. "Perhaps. But it is necessary. We will face dangers that no one else can survive. Together we must be stronger than anyone else if we are to protect those who cannot protect themselves." As the days passed, their bond deepened further. They could communicate silently, sharing thoughts and strategies without words. Ethan learned to sense her emotions with precision, calming her fears and boosting her confidence when danger approached. Lyra in turn learned to anticipate his movements, guiding him through situations that would have been deadly otherwise. One night, as they camped under the alien stars, Lyra looked at Ethan with a seriousness he had not seen before. "Ethan, I have something to tell you. The bond we share, it is more than survival. It is life itself. If we are separated for too long, if either of us is gravely injured, the other may suffer consequences that are irreversible." Ethan nodded, understanding the gravity of her words. "I know, but we are together, and we will face whatever comes side by side." She smiled faintly, her luminous eyes reflecting the starlight. "Then we are ready," she said. "Ready to face the future, whatever it may hold." As dawn broke over the jagged horizon, Ethan and Lyra led the refugees further north, their journey filled with danger, discovery, and a bond that grew stronger with each passing moment. The human warrior and the alien princess, connected by blood and fate, had become something greater than either could have imagined. Together they were a force that could change the course of history on Virath 9 and perhaps beyond. For the first time, Ethan felt a sense of purpose that went beyond duty. He was not just a warrior. He was a protector, a guide, and now an inseparable part of something extraordinary. And as he glanced at Lyra, her pale blue skin glowing softly in the morning light, he knew that their journey was only beginning. The stars above shimmered faintly, as if acknowledging the birth of a bond that would alter the fate of two worlds. And somewhere deep within the valley, the pulse of life, human and alien, beat in unison, preparing for the challenges yet to come. Ethan and Lyra moved cautiously through the rocky terrain, leading the group of refugees north. The journey was slow, but every step mattered. Ethan's senses, sharpened by the bond with Lyra, allowed him to anticipate dangers long before they appeared. He could feel subtle vibrations through the ground, the shift of air currents, even the faintest heartbeat of distant creatures. Lyra's awareness complemented his perfectly. She sensed approaching patrols, the movements of the wildlife, and the presence of hidden traps, guiding Ethan and the refugees safely through the treacherous land. The group remained quiet, understanding the gravity of the situation. Every human and alien in the group trusted Ethan and Lyra implicitly. They followed silently, grateful for the protection offered by the human warrior and the alien princess. Even the youngest children seemed to sense the bond, the shared awareness between the two leaders radiating calm and assurance. On the third day, they reached a ridge that overlooked a wide valley below. Ethan paused, crouching behind a rock, his eyes scanning the area. Through the bond, he felt Lyra tense beside him. "Enemies," she whispered, not with words, but directly into his mind. "A patrol is moving through the valley. They will spot us if we descend carelessly." Ethan nodded. He crouched lower, signaling the refugees to remain hidden. Using hand signals, he guided them to a series of hidden ledges and shallow caves, places that provided natural cover. He could feel Lyra's mind sharpening alongside his own, their thoughts perfectly synchronized. The bond allowed them to move as one, making decisions instinctively. The patrol below was composed of heavily armored Zetherians, loyal to the faction that had attacked Lyra's people. They were armed with energy rifles and scanning devices designed to detect life forms from a distance. Ethan studied them carefully, noting their patterns and movements. He whispered to Lyra, "We can't outrun them. We need a plan to get through this safely." Lyra nodded, her mind racing. She projected her thoughts into Ethan's, forming a clear image of the patrol and the safest path through the valley. "We will move during the shift change," she suggested. "They will be less vigilant and we can use the shadows to remain unseen." Ethan agreed. They waited for several hours, keeping the refugees calm and quiet. The sun's position shifted, creating shadows that stretched across the valley floor. When the patrol began to change shifts, Ethan and Lyra led the group, moving silently from cover to cover. The refugees followed closely, trusting their guidance. Suddenly, a branch snapped under the foot of a young refugee. Ethan froze immediately. He could feel Lyra's tension through the bond, sharp and urgent. Without speaking, he signaled the group to halt. The patrol's sensors had picked up a faint trace of movement. Ethan and Lyra pressed the refugees against the rock walls, holding their breaths. The patrol passed nearby, scanning the valley floor carefully. Ethan felt the bond amplify his focus, allowing him to anticipate the patrol's direction and timing. When the last guard moved out of sight, he signaled the group to continue, leading them safely through the valley. By evening, they reached the edge of a forested area, the thick alien trees providing better cover. The group was exhausted, but Ethan and Lyra urged them forward. "We must keep moving," Lyra said softly, her voice carrying both authority and reassurance. "The enemy will not give up easily." As they entered the forest, Ethan noticed strange markings on the trees, symbols that indicated danger or traps. Lyra explained that these were remnants of ancient Zetherian warnings, placed by scouts to protect hidden paths. Through the bond, Ethan could sense the subtle energy these symbols emitted, guiding them toward safe passages. It was as if the forest itself was alive, responding to their presence and helping them navigate safely. The refugees began to rely on Ethan and Lyra, not only for protection but for guidance through the alien world. Even the adults, hardened by war and survival, looked to them with respect and trust. Ethan felt a sense of responsibility heavier than any he had faced before. Every decision, every movement could mean life or death for the group. Yet he also felt a growing confidence, strengthened by Lyra's presence and the bond they shared. On the fifth day, they reached a plateau overlooking a small settlement of Zetherian survivors. The settlement was hidden within a valley, protected by natural rock formations and dense foliage. Ethan and Lyra observed from a distance, noting the positions of guards, the flow of traffic, and the location of essential supplies. "They have been expecting reinforcements," Lyra said, her mind projecting a vision of the settlement into Ethan's. "We must approach carefully. We cannot reveal ourselves too quickly or they may mistake us for enemies." Ethan nodded. He signaled for the group to remain hidden as he and Lyra approached alone, moving slowly through the trees. When they reached the settlement, Lyra called out in her native language, a melodic sound that resonated with the Zetherians inside. The guards hesitated, unsure of what to do. Lyra stepped forward, revealing herself fully. Her luminous skin and royal markings shone in the dim light. Ethan followed closely, his presence calm but commanding. The guards recognized her immediately, and the tension in the air eased. "Princess Lyra," one of the elders said, stepping forward. "You live?" Lyra nodded. "Thanks to him," she said, gesturing to Ethan. "This human saved my life when no one else could." We are bound by blood and by purpose. I come seeking allies to protect those who cannot protect themselves. The elders and guards exchanged glances. The bond between human and princess was unprecedented. It was a symbol of hope, a sign that the two species could unite against the forces threatening them. Slowly, the settlement opened its gates, welcoming Ethan, Lyra, and the refugees. Inside the settlement, Ethan and Lyra worked quickly to organize defenses, distribute supplies, and integrate the new arrivals. The refugees were exhausted but relieved, grateful for the safety and guidance offered by the two leaders. Ethan could feel their trust and fear through the bond, guiding his decisions and actions. As night fell, Ethan and Lyra stood on a small platform overlooking the settlement. The glow from Lyra's skin illuminated the area, casting a gentle light over the people below. Ethan felt the bond strengthen, a constant hum of life connecting him to Lyra and to the settlement. "We must prepare for the enemy's return," Lyra said softly. "They will not give up easily, but with these people, and with you by my side, we have a chance to protect them." Ethan nodded. "We'll be ready," he said, "and we'll make sure they never harm anyone here again." Over the next few days, Ethan trained the refugees and guards, teaching them strategies, combat techniques, and survival skills. Lyra shared her knowledge of Zetherian tactics, abilities, and energy-based defenses. Together, they created a force capable of defending the settlement, a mix of human ingenuity and alien power. During this time, the bond between Ethan and Lyra continued to grow. They could communicate without words, anticipate each other's movements, and share emotions with clarity. Ethan discovered new abilities within himself, heightened strength, faster reflexes, and an awareness of the environment that allowed him to move and react with precision. Lyra noticed these changes as well, guiding him in their use. One evening, as they rested by the central fire of the settlement, Lyra spoke quietly. "Ethan, I have seen your mind, your courage, and your heart. You are no ordinary human. The bond has awakened something within you, something that can protect life in ways even I cannot." Ethan smiled faintly. "I don't feel extraordinary. I want to protect those who cannot protect themselves. And I want to protect you." Lyra looked at him, her luminous eyes reflecting the firelight. "Then we are truly bound, not just by blood, but by purpose. Together we can face anything." As the night deepened, the settlement grew quiet. Ethan kept watch, sensing every movement through the bond. He knew the enemy would return, but he also knew that they were stronger now, not just in numbers, but in unity, strategy, and determination. The human warrior and the alien princess had become more than allies. They were partners, linked in ways that transcended species, capable of facing dangers that no one else could survive. In the distance, faint lights appeared on the horizon, the enemy approaching. Ethan tightened his grip on his weapon, feeling Lyra's resolve flow through him. They would face the threat together as they had faced every challenge so far, and they would survive because their bond, their courage, and their unity were stronger than anything the enemy could bring. The stars above shone brightly, witnesses to the extraordinary alliance forming below, and in that moment Ethan understood fully what the bond meant. It was not just survival. It was a promise, a force that could change the fate of an entire world. The night was thick with tension as Ethan and Lyra stood on the edge of the settlement, watching the enemy forces approach. The bond between them pulsed like a heartbeat, an invisible thread linking their thoughts and awareness. Every movement of the approaching troops was visible to them. Every sound faintly registered through the heightened senses the bond had given Ethan. He could feel Lyra's anticipation, her readiness, and it strengthened his own resolve. "Ethan," she said softly, though her voice carried in his mind as clearly as in his ears. "They are more organized than I expected. This is not just a patrol, they are bringing a commander with them." Ethan nodded. He scanned the horizon, noticing the formation of the enemy troops. They moved with precision, like a well-trained army rather than desperate marauders. He counted at least 24 fighters armed with energy rifles and shields. The commander must be nearby, overseeing the operation. "We cannot face them head-on," Ethan said. "We need strategy, not brute force." Lyra's eyes glowed faintly as she concentrated. Through the bond, she projected a vision of the battlefield into Ethan's mind, showing hidden paths, weak points in the enemy formation, and locations of civilian shelters that must be protected. "We can split them," she said. "Divide their forces and draw them into traps. We have the advantage of knowing their approach before they see us." Ethan adjusted his stance. The bond made him almost instinctively aware of danger and opportunity. "Then we set the traps. We lead them here into the valley near the eastern ridge. There's natural cover, and we can use the terrain to our advantage." Together they moved swiftly, guiding the refugees and defenders to strategic positions. Ethan's human ingenuity combined with Lyra's knowledge of Zetherian tactics created a plan that was precise and daring. They prepared barriers, laid false trails, and positioned the defenders in hidden spots. Every action was guided by the link between them, the silent communication allowing them to coordinate flawlessly. When the enemy came closer, Ethan and Lyra moved to the highest point on the ridge overlooking the valley. Through the bond, Ethan could feel the soldiers' intent, their confidence, their fear. Lyra's presence calmed the defenders below, boosting morale and focus. The enemy commander, a tall Zetherian with silver markings on his armor, scanned the area, unaware of the traps waiting for him. The first shots were fired as the enemy entered the valley. Ethan's sharpshooting skills came into play, taking out advanced sensors and creating confusion among the attackers. Lyra moved among the defenders, her energy abilities amplifying their effectiveness. She could shield them from attacks, create flashes of light to disorient the enemy, and even subtly influence the battlefield with her presence. Ethan noticed that his own abilities were sharper than ever. He could anticipate enemy movements, react faster, and coordinate perfectly with Lyra. Every step, every strike was synchronized with her thoughts. Together they were a force neither the enemy nor anyone else could match. The enemy commander quickly realized that the attack was not going according to plan. "They are stronger than expected," he muttered, issuing commands to reorganize his troops. Ethan and Lyra anticipated these maneuvers, adjusting their strategy instantly. Through the bond, they could communicate silently with the defenders, ensuring every move countered the enemy's plan. Despite their advantage, the battle was intense. Energy blasts lit the valley and the sounds of combat echoed through the rocks. Ethan and Lyra worked as one, guiding the defenders and striking at key targets. Their bond allowed them to act with near-perfect coordination, predicting the enemy's actions before they occurred. During a critical moment, the enemy commander revealed a hidden device, glowing ominously. Lyra's vision through the bond revealed its purpose, a machine capable of draining life energy from Zetherians, potentially killing hundreds, including Lyra herself. Ethan's heart raced. They could not allow this device to activate. "We must destroy it," Lyra said, projecting the image into Ethan's mind. "But it is heavily guarded." Ethan nodded, formulating a plan. "We split up. I will go for the device and you focus on holding the troops back. We will synchronize our actions." The bond allowed them to coordinate without hesitation. Ethan moved through the chaos using shadows and cover, guided by Lyra's telepathic signals. He reached the device, noticing the guards surrounding it. Timing was critical. With precise movements, he disabled the first layer of defense and then, with a calculated strike, destroyed the device entirely. A surge of energy erupted, and Ethan felt a sudden shock through the bond. Lyra's body glowed brightly as the energy pulse swept over the battlefield. He feared she had been harmed, but instead he felt her strength returning even stronger than before. The destruction of the device had triggered a response in her physiology, amplifying her powers temporarily. Lyra's eyes glowed with intensity as she moved through the battlefield, her energy shielding the defenders and repelling the enemy forces. The tide turned decisively. Ethan coordinated attacks from his elevated position, using sharpshooting and guerrilla tactics to keep the enemy disoriented. Together they were unstoppable. The enemy commander, realizing defeat was inevitable, attempted to retreat. Ethan and Lyra, still connected through the bond, anticipated his movements. Lyra used her powers to cut off escape routes, while Ethan led a group of defenders to intercept him. The commander fought fiercely, but the combined strength and coordination of Ethan and Lyra were overwhelming. He was finally captured, and the remaining enemy troops scattered, fleeing into the night. As the dust settled, Ethan descended from the ridge to check on Lyra. She was glowing faintly, her energy slowly returning to normal. She smiled, exhausted but triumphant. "We did it," she said softly, the bond between them resonating with relief and pride. Ethan nodded, feeling the intensity of their connection. Yes, but this is only the beginning. They will regroup. The war is far from over. Lyra's expression grew serious. I know, but we have shown that a human and a Zetherian can fight as one. That alone is a message the enemy cannot ignore. The refugees and defenders emerged from their hiding places, cheering for their leaders. Ethan and Lyra had not only protected them, but also demonstrated the extraordinary power of unity between species. The bond, once a mysterious connection formed in desperation, had become a force capable of turning the tide of battle. As night fell over the valley, Ethan and Lyra stood together, looking at the stars above. The bond between them pulsed gently, a reminder of the life they had saved and the responsibility they now shared. Lyra placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder. "We are bound," she said softly. "By blood, by purpose, and now by the lives we have protected together. We must continue to fight, to protect those who cannot protect themselves, and to ensure that this bond is never broken." Ethan felt the weight of her words, understanding the truth in them. They were no longer just allies. They were partners linked in ways beyond comprehension. Their actions had changed the course of events on Virath 9, and the bond between them had become a symbol of hope for both humans and Zetherians. The following days were spent fortifying the settlement, training the defenders, and planning the next moves against the enemy. Ethan and Lyra continued to explore the limits of their bond, discovering new ways to communicate, fight, and heal. The connection allowed them to share not only thoughts but also strength, courage, and resilience. One evening, as they watched the twin suns set over the jagged horizon, Lyra spoke softly. "Ethan, I have seen what this bond can do. Together we are more than human or Zetherian. We are a force that can protect life in ways no one else can." Ethan nodded. "I know, and I will not let anyone harm you or those we protect. This bond, it is our strength, and we will use it wisely." The stars began to twinkle above, and a sense of calm fell over the settlement. For the first time in days, Ethan allowed himself a moment of reflection. They had faced impossible odds and survived. They had protected hundreds of lives. And through it all, the bond between them had only grown stronger, a silent force guiding their actions and uniting them in purpose. Yet both knew that the enemy would return. The war was not over and greater challenges awaited. But they were ready. The human warrior and the alien princess, bound by blood and purpose, would face whatever came next together. Their bond had become a source of hope, strength, and unity, a reminder that even in the darkest times, courage and connection could prevail. Ethan glanced at Lyra, her pale blue skin glowing faintly in the moonlight. He could feel her emotions, her determination, her trust, and he knew without doubt that as long as they stood together, no force in the galaxy could break the bond that had been forged in blood and courage. The night was quiet, but the pulse of life, the shared heartbeat of human and alien, of warrior and princess, echoed across the valley. It was a promise of survival, of protection, and of the incredible journey that lay ahead. And somewhere deep within the heart of Virath 9, the bond between Ethan and Lyra continued to grow, preparing them for the challenges that the dawn would inevitably bring. The sun rose over the valley, casting a golden glow across the settlement. Ethan and Lyra stood together on the ridge, surveying the land they had fought so hard to protect. The battle from the previous night had left marks on the earth, scorched ground, broken equipment, and scattered remnants of the enemy. But the settlement itself remained intact, its people safe. Ethan felt a surge of pride. They had survived against impossible odds, and the bond between him and Lyra had proven stronger than anyone could have imagined. Lyra turned to him, her pale blue skin glowing faintly in the morning light. "We have done more than protect lives, Ethan," she said softly. "We have shown that humans and Zetherians can unite, that even in the darkest times, cooperation and trust can overcome fear and hatred." Ethan nodded. "Yes, but there is still work to do. Others may see what we accomplished and try to challenge it. We must be ready to defend the settlement, and more importantly, we must guide the people to safety and hope." The refugees emerged from their shelters, carrying supplies, tending to the wounded, and beginning the slow work of rebuilding. Their faces reflected gratitude and determination. Many of them had never imagined that a human and an alien princess could lead them, let alone protect them so effectively. Ethan and Lyra moved among them, offering reassurance, guidance, and encouragement. Every word, every gesture was amplified by the bond that connected them, allowing them to inspire confidence and courage in everyone around them. Over the next few days, the settlement transformed. Makeshift defenses were reinforced, the wounded were treated with care, and systems for food and water distribution were organized. Ethan trained the defenders, teaching them strategies and techniques that combined human ingenuity with Lyra's Zytherian knowledge. He discovered that the bond with Lyra enhanced his ability to teach and lead. He could sense when someone was confused or hesitant and guide them intuitively, ensuring the group learned quickly and effectively. Lyra worked alongside him, using her powers to enhance the abilities of the people and to strengthen their resolve. She could shield them from harm, project images of strategy, and even subtly boost their physical endurance. Through the bond, Ethan felt her presence guiding him at every moment, making them a seamless team that inspired everyone around them. One evening, as the twin suns set over the horizon, casting long shadows across the valley, Ethan and Lyra stood atop the ridge looking out at the people below. The settlement had become a symbol of hope, a place where humans and Zytherians could live and work together in harmony. The bond between them had grown stronger with each passing day, a constant thread of trust, understanding, and mutual support. "Ethan," Lyra said softly, "I feel something new. The bond, it is more than survival and strength. It is life itself. It is a connection that cannot be broken, and it is teaching me things I never knew about my people, about humanity, and about myself." Ethan smiled faintly. "I feel the same way. It's strange, but it feels right. Like we were meant to meet, meant to fight together, and meant to protect those who cannot protect themselves." Lyra nodded, her eyes reflecting the fading light of the suns. "We have done so much, but there is more to do. The enemy may be scattered, but they are not gone. Others will come, and we must be ready." Ethan placed a hand gently on hers. Through the bond, he could feel her thoughts, her emotions, her strength. "Then we prepare. We will protect this settlement, and we will continue to lead. Together, nothing can stop us." As night fell, the settlement glowed with life. Fires burned, lights shone in the shelters, and the sound of activity filled the air. Ethan and Lyra moved among the people, checking on their progress, offering guidance, and reinforcing the sense of unity and hope that had begun to take root. The bond between them allowed them to communicate silently, coordinating efforts, predicting needs, and ensuring that everyone was safe and supported. Days turned into weeks, and the settlement grew stronger. Ethan and Lyra continued to train the defenders, strengthen alliances with nearby Zytherian groups, and explore the surrounding lands for resources and potential threats. The bond between them continued to deepen, allowing them to anticipate each other's thoughts, movements, and emotions with precision. It was as if they had become one mind and two bodies, a perfect union of human ingenuity and alien power. During this time, Ethan discovered abilities within himself that he had never imagined. He could react with incredible speed, sense dangers before they appeared, and even heal minor injuries with remarkable efficiency. Lyra explained that the bond had unlocked these abilities, enhancing both their physical and mental capabilities. He realized that the bond was not just a connection, it was a transformation, a way to become stronger and more capable than either could achieve alone. Lyra noticed the changes in Ethan as well. "You are becoming more than human," she said one evening as they stood by a quiet stream. "Your strength, your perception, your courage, it is remarkable, but it is the bond that makes you truly powerful. Together we can achieve things neither of us could alone." Ethan smiled, watching the reflection of the twin suns in the water. "I never imagined this. I came here as a warrior, expecting danger and struggle. But I found something greater, a bond, a purpose, and a chance to make a difference." Lyra reached out, placing her hand over his. "And you have. Every life we protect, every person we guide, every victory we achieve, it is because we are united. The bond is more than survival. It is hope, courage, and life itself." As time passed, the settlement became a beacon of unity and resilience. Humans and Zytherians worked side by side, sharing knowledge, skills, and culture. Children played safely in the fields, guided by both Ethan and Lyra. The bond between the human warrior and the alien princess became a symbol of possibility. A reminder that even the greatest differences could be overcome through trust, courage, and connection. One morning, as Ethan and Lyra stood on the ridge overlooking the valley, they noticed a distant group approaching. Ethan tensed, prepared for battle, but Lyra's expression softened. Through the bond, she conveyed a sense of recognition and relief. "They are allies," she said. "A group of Zetherian survivors from another region. They have heard of our success and wish to join us." Ethan's eyes lit up. The bond had not only strengthened them, but had also inspired hope and cooperation across the region. "Then we welcome them," he said. "The more united we are, the stronger we become." The newcomers arrived, and the settlement grew even stronger. Ethan and Lyra guided them, integrating them into the defenses and sharing knowledge of tactics, survival, and cooperation. The bond between the two leaders allowed them to coordinate flawlessly, ensuring that everyone worked together seamlessly. As the sun set one evening, Ethan and Lyra sat together atop the ridge, watching the settlement thrive. The bond pulsed gently between them, a constant reminder of their connection, their purpose, and the lives they had saved. "Ethan," Lyra said softly, "we have accomplished so much, but the journey is far from over. There will be new challenges, new threats, and new responsibilities. But as long as we are together, I believe we can face anything." Ethan nodded, feeling the depth of the bond and the strength it provided. "I believe that too. Together we are unstoppable. And we will protect this world, this settlement, and these people. Nothing can break the bond we share." Lyra smiled, her eyes glowing faintly in the twilight. "Then we continue, not just as warrior and princess, but as partners, as allies, and as a force for life and hope." The stars appeared one by one in the darkening sky, reflecting off the valley and the settlement below. Ethan and Lyra stood together, feeling the bond between them pulse with life and strength. The enemy may still exist, but they had proven that courage, unity, and trust could overcome any challenge. The settlement was safe, the refugees thriving, and the bond between the human warrior and the alien princess stronger than ever. Together they had changed the fate of a world and inspired hope for countless lives. And as they looked out over the valley, Ethan and Lyra knew that their journey was only beginning. For the first time, they allowed themselves a moment of peace, knowing that the bond they shared would guide them through every challenge, every danger, and every victory to come. The pulse of life, the shared heartbeat of human and alien, echoed across the valley, a promise that the future would be protected, guided, and united. Ethan turned to Lyra, sensing her thoughts and emotions through the bond. "We have done something extraordinary," he said, "something that will be remembered." Lyra smiled, a soft glow radiating from her as she replied silently and aloud, "Yes, Ethan. And together, we will continue to do extraordinary things. The bond is our strength, and with it we will face the future with courage, hope, and life." And as the night deepened and the stars shimmered above, the human warrior and the alien princess stood side by side, their bond unbreakable, their purpose clear, and their hearts united. The world they had fought to protect was safe for now, and together they would continue to defend it, to guide its people, and to ensure that hope, courage, and life would endure for generations to come.